Hello, 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 painting on this hand. And I want to talk about today about the male ego. And I want to say that it is very, very important that men in particular, because they are in such a pressure cooker emotionally, that they become conscious about these internal processes, the psychological processes that are going on. The fear of failure. I want to tell them, give up that struggle. Give that up. Give up the struggle of wanting to win and wanting to succeed with whatever it is. Give up that struggle. That's your responsibility, to give up that struggle. Because it makes you suffer and it makes others suffer around you. And you're not the only one. Most men in the world are struggling with that. So my message to every one of you is, give up that struggle. Give up the struggle to succeed and win. Let go of it. Let go of it. Let go. Be you. Be yourselves. Find out who you really are, The real you underneath all of this hiding and self-deception and struggle and striving to succeed and win, make it. This striving prevents you from freeing who you really are, from freeing your inner child, from freeing the real you. The child in you is the real you. I don't know how I can bring this message across to people, because I don't know how receptive they are to this. Probably don't even really understand what I mean by this. Very difficult to put this into words. I want people to stop struggling to make it in business or whatever it is. Stop struggling and be yourself. Be kind to others. Be kind to other living beings. That is the most important thing there is. Everything else is secondary. If everyone could live by that, everyone could practice that, then everything would become more peaceful instantly, everywhere. And we could have much better, people would think clearer, we could have better products, we could save living beings from suffering that way. If that could be done, if there is just less feverish trying of, Elliot Rodger, for example. It's the perfect example. Perfect example. And those men that are in the audience with that Owen Cook, the men that are signing up for his seminars, the way they're sitting there already, you know, I see the energy. I see this. They're actually sitting there. They feel defeated. Actually, they feel like, you know, they put everything on the externality, everything on the outside world. Everything is being projected on external things like the bar or the women they want or the success, but they never ever go within themselves. They run away from themselves as fast as they can. All people do, but I'm focusing right now particularly on men because men are the most violent, and men are the most violent beings on this planet. And it's happening because of frustration when they feel like they failed. That's when they become violent. So the violence is a testimonial of the ego being bruised. That's what it is. That's all it is. Hunting, sport hunting, sadistic behavior, those are even more unconscious things, but it's the same thing. The ego bruised, you know, becomes a hater, lets it out on innocent beings. That's what concerns me very much, and that's why I make these videos, because I want people to become aware about this. Violence happens because the male ego has been hurt. Very important that they know that. This has to become conscious, first of all, before anything can heal. No more running away from these things. No more running away. You know, a man goes up to a woman and says, "Hey, baby," you know, there's no connection at all because he doesn't understand her psychology. And she thinks, "What a stupid cunt," and says, "Hey, fuck off." And then he goes, "You ugly bitch, you she-beast. I didn't want you in the beginning." Okay, so why did you ask her to date her then? So anyway, you know, it's that is what I'm talking about, and that mechanism, that energy, you know, that ego bruised energy happens in all kinds of variations, as you can possibly imagine. Not just in the harmless thing where the man says, "You she-beast, I didn't want you anyway." That's a much more harmless scenario. Yeah. Same violent energy though, and so that takes on other proportions, of course. You know, that same thing. You know. That goes so far to Elliot Rodger. It's the same thing. Elliot Rodger, "You fucking bitches, you brutes, I kill you all." That's Elliot. That's how far it goes. You know, people need to become aware. They become aware about this. Elliot Rodger was suffering. Suffering. Okay, that's why this happened. I'm not making excuses. I'm just seeing it. Just seeing the tremendous suffering. We can avoid this. Okay, we can avoid this stuff by going within ourselves and becoming conscious. That's what I mean by going within yourselves. Become conscious about it. And instead of acting it out, that anger, instead of talking yourself more and more and more into that rage, understand where other people are. Understand where women are. Okay. Who are these other women? What is a woman like? I have this feeling that most men don't even know don't even know anything about women at all. How we feel, you know, why we react in certain ways, and why we don't like this guy or that guy, and why we like this guy better. And I mean, Owen Cook has already, you know, has already demonstrated this to people, and I just find this man so incredibly courageous, you know, and he has a tremendous self-humor, and you know, self-humor is self-love, you know. Kiss yourself. You have self-love, you know. You forgive yourself. You say, hey, you didn't know better. No, this is a learning process. You don't have to succeed. You don't have to look like a stallion. You can be, you know, as he calls himself, a balding ginger, you know. I don't see him as balding, but and I like ginger, so, but you know, he makes it humorous. He has humor about himself and love, and he doesn't take these things too seriously, you know, like he has let go of this struggle to succeed and to win, and this whole thing was, I need to date a woman tonight, you know, as these men come up to that Owen Cook, and because he's a motivational coach, and they come up to him and they say, my goal is I need to go home with the woman tonight. It's like, oh, it's like a business deal that needs to close or something, you know. You know, that's not what we stand, what we women, we women are alive too. Hello, you, we are living beings too, okay? Yes, not just the sheebies like me, but every woman is alive, has their own insecurities. The prettiest women have insecurities too, okay, and mental illness and all kinds of shit going on, because we live in a very neurotic society. But the men, I mean, the way they go about things, you know, and it's just not working. This is not working. And then that guy bitching about that lady Merrily, you know, that redhead lady, stunning, hot, sexy vixen lady. She's a hot, sexy vixen lady. She interviews people, and she is, you know, first, the way he explained her as, you know, in a, he made his own drama, his own personal drama, into a commercial, industrialized, like into a public form. So it takes quite a nerve to do that, you know, like whining and complaining, making that into a public forum. I would never have the nerve to bring my personal drama into the public like this. But anyway, that's what he did, and from the way he talked, it sounded like, man, this woman must be a monster, okay? And then naturally, what Google does, it shows his girl. I'm making video. It shows his ex-wife, the Marilee. It shows her right there, and then there is her photo. She interviewing someone with the red hair, and he had shown a photo in her slideshow, so I knew how she looked. So I saw, oh, Google gave me one of her interviews. So I couldn't even watch that guy whining all the way through. So I clicked that off. I clicked on Marilyn, and I see this woman is extremely intelligent, okay, extremely intelligent, extremely powerful mind, powerful, I don't know, most people, you know that most people are narcissistic and have a lot of psychopathic traits. Most people do. So it's not like pawned off all on that one lady, you know, like make everything, pawn it all off on this one woman, the scapegoat, you know. So no, it doesn't work that way. Sorry. That guy, and I saw it right from the beginning. It's like, what a whiner. My gosh. He really needs that Owen Cook. He needs to go to that Owen Cook seminar. My goodness. It's like that's the first thing that people need to stop doing is this whining and the self rage talks, you know, where they talk themselves more and more and more into a rage, where the whole thing becomes institutionalized. Like they institutionalize their own victimhood. And then there are man emancipation groups out there, believe it or not. This is happening. We men, we must speak out. This goes too far. The women are taking over. I gotta turn this light on here. This is so amazing. You know, I want people to become aware about this. You know where this is gonna go to, this war between women and men? I mean, that's insane. You need to introspect. You need to stop feeling like a victim. Anyone, women and men. And for men it is particularly persistent because they're in this extra internal vice. Yeah. That's why they're in such an internal vice. It's insane. That's because their dads said to them when they were children, you need to stop whining, become a man, put them into a total vice. And the kids believe that because, you know, the adults are never questioned. And then we stay kids and we continue not to question. And that's a terrible mistake. Okay. Then religion comes in and says, don't question anything. If you question, you know, they even threaten people not to question. That's a horrible, horrible disaster when that happens. We must question things, okay? We also must question ourselves. We must question our own self-dialogue that we have running, you know, the self-pity type of dialogue. Question that. And allow yourselves to feel sorry for themselves. Don't institutionalize it though. You can feel sorry for yourself. Yeah, that lady took your money, she left you, she tricked you and everything. Yes, yes, you want the cake and eat it too. Yes, 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 that's how it works. So, you got carried away by her charm. You wanted to eat the cake. Okay, then you eat the cake and then cake's no longer there. Then you still want to eat the cake. It doesn't work that way. You know? So you didn't take the meek and mild girl. You took the sexy vixen girl who is 10,000 times smarter than you. Well, then you have to draw the consequences from this. And, you know, I question whether the whiner and complainer is that much of a better person. You know, because most people are not very, very ethical to begin with. And particularly not the whiners and complainers, because they're so focused on themselves. So how can they be good people when they're that focused on themselves? Me, and she left me and took all the money. Wow. and I fell for it. Oh my gosh. Yes. But it's those people who will say, but I want to believe people are good. You know. Well, if you keep kidding yourselves, then you're going to be tricked out again and again and again and again. You need to become realistic about this. People are, most people are con artists. So why? Because because of capitalism. You know. They feel like if they don't take this opportunity to out trick someone, it will never come back. And these kind of things, you know, they're not ethical. But the whiners and complainers aren't ethical either. The whiners and complainers, they're not complaining about the pigs in the slaughterhouses. They're complaining about themselves. And that makes them not ethical. At least complain about others suffering, not your, focusing on you, always you. You know, complain about what's happening in the world, the suffering that's going on. But you complain about your romance going wrong. Yeah, the priorities are just not in alignment at all. It's very annoying. So that's why it is so incredibly important, you know, you stop this internal dialogue and the blame shifting, the constant blaming of others. That has got to go. You have more in common with your ex-wife than you can possibly imagine. But you have neurosis in common, okay? Much neurosis. Focus on external things. Focus on having to look incredibly good. Focus on making money. It's super important. You know, these are external things. And that's very unhealthy to focus on this for women and men, of course. But men, they're under this particular vice from the parents, from society, you know, to succeed, to be successful, and to have this stellar woman, this trophy woman, always trophy woman, trophy woman. Who is the trophy woman? Obviously someone who puts a lot of emphasis on the external things, just like you. Then what happens? Then then the duality unfolds, you know. You don't understand her, who she really is, because you focus on her external body more than on her mind, more than on understanding who she really is. You make love to her, but you don't feel her. You don't feel that person. Maybe she's given you many, many opportunities to understand you, to understand her better. But you did not feel it because you're too busy succeeding and looking good to her and looking good to society, that you don't see her. You don't see who she really is. She's just a child like you. A child who has been hurt. A child who is now thinks, I either make it now or I don't, and no one else will do it for me. So I have to. I have no other choice. I have to fight my elbows through. And that's how most people feel. And most people are in this strife. I personally see this, and I just am not willing to do it. Sorry. No. No, I'm not playing that social game. Not willing to do it. I'm not interested in strife. But it takes a lot of introspection. It takes a lot of sitting back and looking at it from a much wider perspective. I'm not blaming anyone, you know. I'm just pointing these things out. I'm just saying this is how it is. You know. We don't get anywhere by finger pointing. Absolutely not. It's not happening. I understand all of them. I understand how things unfolded and why. And we can do something about this now. We can do something about it and become very conscious about it. Very conscious. So that we don't continue in this cycle, in this Elliot Rogers cycle, and end up, you know, where people end up doing monstrous things because they escalate themselves further and further into this. That's how murder happens. That's how domestic violence happens. Because a person feels victimized. And a feeling of being victimized brings up unbelievable hatred. So, and men, yeah, in men it is extreme. First of all, because they're in such a vice, and also because of testosterone adding to this, making them really violent and aggressive in that situation, where it takes over, where they forget about the prefrontal cortex, and they don't foresee the consequences anymore. They're just in a blind rage. Can happen to women too sometimes, but not to that extreme, and certainly not in that statistical number. So, mass shooters are usually men. It is a perpetuation. It happens because they escalate into this, further and further and further escalate into those rages. And we can stop that. We can become completely conscious and aware about it and stop these monstrous inner dialogues and escalation. And that's where meditation comes in, where we introspect. This is so infinitely important to do. Infinitely important. Because it will save lives if we do it. If we introspect. Finger pointing is not the direction. Blaming others is not the direction to go to. It is the wrong direction. If you do this, you're on the wrong path. If you blame anyone, if you're in a position of blaming, you're on the wrong path. Because the moment you blame someone else, you have given the other person the power. You've given up the power for your own life. Blame it on something else, on an external thing. And you have shedded your own responsibility. And that's not the path. The only path is to take full responsibility for whatever happens. Because each person is responsible for what happens to them. Each person. Even if I get sick with the flu, which usually when I go shopping, I catch something. And I used to get violently sick in the past. So that has stopped, okay? My body is now able to work very, very, very sufficiently and in much balance and harmony, and works very, very well now when I take plays and when I meditate and introspect, and all of this is also very good for our immune systems. So, but even if I catch something, it is my responsibility. I can't be going around and saying, oh, blame it all on others, blame it on the physicians who are overly prescribing drugs because they get kickbacks. Yeah, that's happening and it needs to be addressed, but I'm not going to be dwelling on it in terms of shedding my responsibility and blaming it all on that now. Because then I'm back in this, or when I tell somebody don't force it. Don't force other people. Don't be forceful with other people. And they will say, yeah, but they have done this and I needed to assert myself. No. That's a self-dialogue again. That is a justification for doing these act-outs. That's another justification. That's what that guy does with that woman. That's not going anywhere, really. It doesn't go anywhere. It just escalates hatred inside of a person. Internal hate dialogues and blame dialogues just increase the person's hatred and it is a shedding of responsibility, and it causes unempowerment. That's what it does. There's always something that I did wrong in every situation. There's something that I can take responsibility for. Not in terms of self-blame and beating up on myself. You know, this entire thing, this entire mechanism of blame has to go. Blaming of others or of ourselves is wrong. But take responsibility. Yeah. We have to take responsibility, and full responsibility. Full responsibility. Otherwise, it's not going anywhere. If I'm suicidal, happens quite frequently. It can happen very easily. Not like where I'm planning or whatever. Not getting to that. But where I have thoughts where I feel like oh, I'm never gonna make it or something. These feelings come up, and then I can easily fall again into this trap of blaming my mother for it. My ego really wants to do it. It's been in a groove of doing this my whole life. So, but that's not going anywhere if I do that. Right? It's not going anywhere. That just makes me feel unempowered, and then I get even more depressed. So yeah, my mother made mistakes. It's unfortunate, but so have many mothers. Okay? Many mothers. Many, 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 many. Whole society is like this. Okay. But what can I do about it right now in this moment? Obviously, if I blame my mother, that's not going to help anything. Right? It's not going to get me from A to B. So I had to learn this. It took me a long time to learn this. Trust me, I was not on that thought train for most of my life. I was on the psychoanalytical blame game thought train and all of this. It took me a long time to get it. And my husband helped me with this, actually. He helped me to become realistic about this. And now I learn, the more I learn now also from others, is you have to go into introspection. It's the only path. You cannot be staying stuck in blaming other people. That doesn't go anywhere. Everyone is suffering. Everyone who does someone else wrong is doing it because they are suffering. So, and in this sense, we're all in this woven together, in this entire neurotic network. And that's why it's really my responsibility and your responsibility and every single person's responsibility to introspect and become conscious about these mechanisms and consciously stop doing the act outs that don't get you anywhere, the blaming and the whining and all of it. Consciously stop that. And introspect and ask what Tony Robbins said. Ask the better questions. Ask the more powerful, the more potent questions. Like, what can I do in this moment to make my life better? You know, I asked myself that yesterday. I was very depressed. I thought it's never gonna get better. I'm not gonna heal this or that mental illness. And you know, my jealousy and my OCD and all of this. And then I have to and I sit with this, I accept this, I'm not going to fight it, I'm not going to be in denial about it. I accept it, I say, okay, if it's never going to heal, it's never going to heal. It's just how it is. Okay. Then there's nothing I can do about it. And I leave it at that. And I sit with it. And I'm not going to act it out. I'm not going to run away from it. I'm not going to blame it on someone else. I'm not going to focus on my mother anymore. I'm not going to focus on any kind of blame anymore. Totally, I'm not expecting anything from anyone anymore. I don't want anything from anyone anymore. I want nothing from anyone. And that's the path within. Okay. And then something else happens. Suddenly my immune system becomes really, really powerful. And insights come and clarity. It's what Sri Krishnamurti said. It's not about conquering something, conquering my mental illness, or turn violence into non-violence. It's like we create another dualism, another dualistic measurement in everything when we do this. But sit with the feeling that is there. Just sit with it and be okay with it, and say, yeah, this is how it feels right now. Let it feel like this right now. This is how it feels, then allow it to feel like this. It's most likely not going to feel like this forever, but it doesn't matter. Don't even think about the future. It feels like this right now. Let it feel like this. Don't chase anything away. Don't conquer anything. If it's there, it has something to say to you. It wants to express itself. Okay? Then leave it there. Don't fight it. As Adyashanti said, don't resist it, and don't even resist the resistance. Because the resistance is another pathology. And that too wants to say something to you. So don't do it. Don't fight against it. When my neck is really, really stiff and I want to loosen it so much, then I'm in resistance to the resistance. I'm in resistance to this contraction in my neck. And then nothing, then I'm resistant and resistance and resistance and resistance. And then things get really bad. So I let myself just have it be in resistance then, and be all stiff and tense and all that. And let it be like this. And sit with that. What Pema Children said, lean into the fear. It sounds like a contradiction, but that is what meditation is all about. So, allow that what is. Don't fight it, and meditate. It's real pretty. And love yourself for who you are, with bags under the eyes, with everything, greasy hair, whatever you are, uncombed hair, whatever is right now in this moment. You love yourself and love others, okay? You guys take care.